He becomes the strongest magician in a magic school and has no magic power. In the magic realm, magic is everything. Everyone relies on the power of magic to create something out of nothing, fly through the sky with a broom, or even carry heavy objects. In short, here magic is a normal thing in daily life, and its mastery can determine people's social status. But deep in the forest, there lives a lone figure who stands in opposition to the world's rules. It's Mashle, a kid who probably followed Saitama's training regime and can lift your house with one arm. For him, he's just a normal kid who lives with his father Regro and loves to eat his snack. They live in the middle of the forest, but unlike Mashle, Regro can actually use magic. Regro, at 75 years of age, reminds himself of the days he used to be a troublemaker, but those days are over, and now his stress levels are pretty low, despite Mashle causing trouble and chaos wherever he goes. When Mashle was entering the house, he ripped the door because he didn't know whether to pull or push. Regro immediately gets mad and scolds him, but Mashle has always been kind with a puppy apologetic face and never gets punished. Regro asked him to fix the door, but Mashle couldn't. He literally lacks so much common sense that he tries to put the door back in the wrong way. And while his father tries to advise him, the door completely breaks. He promises that he will somehow fix it, but Regro has already lost all his hope in Mashle's common sense. While pouring some magic tea, Regro asks if Mashle completed his morning training routine. Mashle confirms but asks why he only trains his body and not magic. Regro wants to tell him that he can't, he's not a normal person. But thinking that would only break his son's heart, so he decides that he will tell him another time. Regro tells him that he will head out for some minutes and asks for Mashle to house it. Mashle tells him to not worry, but Regro decides to remind him one last thing. While he's out, Mashle should never go to the city. Like a good son, Mashle promises he won't and wishes him a safe trip. However, Mashle doesn't do what he promised. He's very hungry from that intense training, and there's an exclusive promo of his favorite snack. He puts a robe on and covers his face and rushes to the city. There, he sees everything is related to magic. Even normal street jobs are done with the help of magic. When he reached the bakery, he ordered 7 cream puffs for himself. But when it came time to pay, he crushed all the coins in excitement. The baker was shocked, and the people behind him started murmuring. Despite the shock, Mashle used his strength to bend the coins back and fix them. That only traumatizes the baker even more. How can someone do that with his hands? Suddenly, the wind blows and exposes Mashle's face. Everyone gets horrified just by looking at his face, mentioning they cannot see any mark on his face. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, there's Brad, a magic police inspector reading the news. He sees that a student was selected to become the Divine Visionary of the Magic Academy, a title that is given to the best student in that school. With that title, the student also becomes a noble and gets rewarded tons of money, more than enough to make Brad jealous. Next to him, there's also a chain guy just like Mashle, without any mark on his face. The guy apologizes for stealing because he was hungry, but Brad gets madder because of the work and decides to finish him off. At that moment, he receives a call mentioning a kid without a mark roaming the streets. That kid is Mashle, thinking how he went against his father's orders, but it was worth it because he got the special edition puffs. Suddenly, he bumps into a policeman and apologizes. The policeman was drunk and was looking for someone to take out his frustration on, especially because the puff cream got his clothes dirty. The guy starts ranting about how he's doing his best to protect people, and that stuff despite drinking during work hours. Mashle apologizes once again, and even offered him a puff, but this only seemed to make the policeman even angrier. The policeman throws the puff to the ground and starts lashing out at Mashle. Without many options, Mashle grabs the policeman by the collar and rips his clothes apart, mentioning he will wash and return them. The guy gets even madder because of what Mashle did to him, and starts to pick on him even more. At that moment, Brad appears to mediate the scene, but he notices Mashle and assumes him to be the one he was looking for. Everyone was talking about this unmarked kid, but Mashle didn't seem to care. He just kept eating cream puffs, which seemed odd to Brad. Suddenly, Regro quickly ran towards Mashle and ran home with him in his arms. Brad watched them go and released a tracking spell to follow them. At home, Regro was furious because Mashle didn't listen to his orders, but Mashle apologizes with his dead puppy face and Regro stops the scolding. And as punishment, he tells Mashle to repeat his morning training routine. Mashle felt sorry and sad, but he still went, leaving the rest of the cream puffs for his dad. His father started to think that maybe he was getting off easy because Mashle was never rebellious during his teenage years. He picks up the puffs and thinks that they've been living in the forest to hide Mashle from everyone. Otherwise, the police would chase him because he cannot use any magic, something that is almost a crime. But now, he must protect Mash more than ever because the magic police had caught wind of him. Suddenly, their front door was smashed open, and Brad entered, asking where Regro had hidden his son. Out in the forest, Mash was focused on his punishment, spinning the barbell bar on his finger, bench pressing like a madman, and doing all the crazy stuff. If you look at the weights, anyone will get crushed if they tried it. But he just needed 5 minutes to do it. He was headed back home and thinking about his puffs, but stopped at the door. He doesn't know if he's supposed to pull or push it as he doesn't want to break it and make his father angry anymore. Inside, Brad was asking Regro to reveal his son. Mash, overhearing this, got shocked and confused. Mash's heart sank as he realized what was happening. Brad mentions that since ancient times, they kill anyone who cannot use magic, and he wants to keep that tradition, because those who can't use it don't deserve to live. But Regro was determined to protect his son, no matter the cost. Brad tries to convince Regro to reveal Mash's location because if he does, they will spare him. Despite being tortured, Regro refused it. He remembered how he was too weak as a magician and was rejected by everyone. His teachers, his family, his boss, everyone rejected him. Death seemed like the only way out, but he stopped it when he heard a baby cry. He saw the baby had no mark, and for the first time in his life, he felt like someone truly needed him. At that moment, he decided that he wanted to be that child's father and raise him in a way that nobody could deny his existence. Brad ordered his soldiers to look for Mash, and Regro desperately shouted for Mash to run away. Enraged, Brad decided to end the old man's life with his spell. And at that moment, Mash comes through the door, smashing it, and punches one of the guards. The second guard comes to pick a fight with him again, but he rips his clothes for the second time today, and gave several slaps in a row, until he finishes the guy off with a more powerful one. Even though Mash didn't have magic, he promised to send Brad to hell with his fist. Regro's heart ached, knowing that Mash was risking his life to protect them. He tried to reason with him, but Mash was determined to keep his promise. Despite the sadness and fear, Regro was proud of Mash's courage. Brad started to cast a spell he used once to kill a dragon, but Mash with a swish of his hand easily deflected it. Everyone was stunned, but Mash just stood there calmly and collected. Brad used another more powerful spell, one capable of destroying the whole forest, but Mash slapped the spell away again. Brad got furious and started throwing spells at him. But it was too easy. He used the spells as a ball to dribble. He juggled them, and even played volleyball. But now, Mash wanted to finish. He grabs his father's wand, and Brad gets afraid and creates a magic barrier, thinking Mash will cast a spell. Instead, Mash throws the wand at Brad with full force. Although Brad had a magic barrier around him, he could not block the wand and got his face cut. Mash threatened Brad to stay away or he would kill them. Brad was defeated, but he offered them a deal. Mash is exceptional, so if he enrolls in the magic school, he can become the god's chosen mage. Brad wants the title if Mash gets chosen. This way Mash will be recognized by the city as a mage and not an outcast. Despite Regro's opposition, Mash accepted the offer because he did not want to live being hunted as a dog. He wanted to seize this chance to turn society on its head. And so, at night, he climbs up the stairs to the Magic Academy and promises to crush any challenge thrown at him in this magic school with his very punch.